next panel is going to be all about building your esports presence and is sponsored by AXR Bridge. Basically, it's all about how do major organizations present themselves within the world of esports communities, and how do you ultimately end up achieving that in a very meaningful way as well. We have Ali from AXR Edge for our moderator for this. We have Maha from Esports Audio, Rupert from Department for International Trade, and we have Guillaume from Alpine F1 team. Please give them a round of applause.
Hello, everyone. I'm from Atlanta, so you'll be able to tell with the accent a little bit different today. Thank you guys for joining us. My name is Ali Young. I'm the CEO and founder of AXR Edge. We're all about the esports and gaming experience. And we're just glad to be here today talking with some esteemed people from the community who are doing the right things and building their esports communities and integrating themselves into esports. Additionally, Rupert Daniels is here with us today with the Department of International Trade. And you might all be wondering, how does that tie in? Well, for us in the US, it's really important for us to build the ecosystem of esports. And the government and the support from the UK and building what esports is here in London and the surrounding areas is extremely important for companies like ours and integrating into the community. So I'd like to start off with just introductions. And Guillaume, if you want to go ahead and kick that off for us.
Yeah, no worries. Hi, everybody. I'm Guillaume Vergnas, so I do sponsorship for Alpine F1 team, basically finding brands that wants to invest in the sport with us, and I overlook after our esports activities. So I've been doing this for 5 years, and happy to be here and talking about how the brand is working in esports, and looking forward to seeing all of you on the first floor. We got 2 simulators for you to try, so see you later.
And Maya?
Thank you. My name is Maya. I come from Esports. We are an audio brand, and I run the global marketing for the B2C side of the business, which happen to be audio peripherals for gaming. So happy to be here.
Thank you. And Rupert?
Hi, everybody. My name is Rupert. I'm the Director for Services and Skills at the Department for International Trade. And my job is just to help companies come and base themselves here in the UK, and also to help UK companies export their goods and services all over the world.
Well, thank you guys for the very brief introductions. We do have 30 minutes to chat today, so I'd love to also take questions from the audience once we get started. One of the things that what I've seen as we started our business in esports and gaming is the challenge of integrating our brands into the gamer lifestyle. You guys are doing such really cool things with that. Guillaume, I know we talked a little bit earlier about some of the stuff that you're doing with F1 and kind of bringing in that the car, the racing lifestyle into esports and gaming. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So everything started a bit 5 years ago when Renault was still in Formula One, and we started our journey in esports with Team Vitality. So we started as a sponsor of the team. We started with Rocket League. Luckily, we've been world champion with them as well. And after that, the first challenge that we saw was how to be legitimate as a brand in esports, especially if you're like a car brand, for instance. So at first, Rocket League was making a lot of sense for us because it's basically car playing football. But then we changed our position in Formula One, and we became Alpine, which is a bit more of a premium brand for the people that don't know Alpine here. It's basically the kind of Tesla positioning, but with a very sportive mentality. That's why we basically competing in the Formula One championship. And a part of it was we need to reorganize ourselves in esports and mainly focus in the categories where we are more legit as a motorsport company. And so sim racing was, an instant project for us. So we created Alpine Esports, and we operate a couple of simulators that you can see upstairs on the first floor, and we participate to sim racing competitions, including the F1 Esports Series. Basically, all the Formula One teams participate to that competition, which starts from September and finish in December. All the Formula One teams are participating, and I'm sure, Maya, you can tell a bit more about this after. We also participate to the 24-hour virtual Le Mans. So basically, we do the virtual competition that we do in real life as well. And there's a couple of interesting things for us is the bridge between sim racing and real racing. Because you are in a simulator position, you touching a steering wheel, braking, accelerating, you are in the same position, and we know that motorsport is a very expensive sport, and that's a way for us to engage with an audience that can understand and that can, play directly and drive cars virtually as well. And so that's a way for us to find possible new talents in the future, but also to give fair chances to talents in motorsport as well. So, and last but not least, it's a very cool thing to drive on simulators, and that helps us to collaborate with wonderful brands that do the simulator, the screens, the peripherals, the steering wheels, and so we can come to esports event with these kind of features as well as Formula One show car or things like this. Yeah.
I can see how the authenticity around driving a race car and driving your simulators really ties in together that experience, right? And also integrates your brand really well with the racing community. Maya, for you guys, some of the audio technology that you all have within your headsets, I was reading around the science of hearing, and as a gamer myself, it's really important to be able to hear what's going on around you when you're playing a video game. And I'd love to hear more about how, first, I know you're a new company. The partners that you guys have are tremendous in the audio world, so we'd love to hear more about that and how your brand is integrating itself into esports.
Well, I think the interesting part for us was we don't have a focus only on esports fans. We want to reach a mainstream audience. We are for the gamer who doesn't want to compromise, and that can be the esports fans or athletes, but it can also be the mainstream gamer who has that audiophile streak and just don't, like you, want to compromise on your equipment because you understand how audio can complete the experience. So when we look for esports partners in building our brand, we look for some who are interested in bridging the gap between esport and mainstream gamers. And we look at ways where we can work with partners to activate a storyline that is as relevant for a mainstream audience as for an esports audience, but with different angles. So, for example, I can work with esports athletes to activate our brand story in a way where I make the athlete the professional. So even if you are a mainstream gamer who doesn't necessarily follow esport, you still get that here you have a professional, someone who is at the top of the game, so to speak. And it's really key for us that we bridge the gap and don't talk exclusively to one audience, but we use the expertise that lies within the esports organizations we partner with to tell our story around expertise in audio.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see the strategic partners that you both have brought in to assist you with elevating your brand that way. Rupert, for you, your story is tremendous and comes from the sports world. I know we talked a little bit about a little thing called FIFA and the World Cup that you were involved with. Would love to hear more about how kind of you worked with them and integrating esports a while back.
Yeah, thanks, Ali. Well, yeah, I used to work for FIFA, the real FIFA, not the EA game people, so I apologise for that in advance. But I was involved in what was actually first called the Interactive World Cup, and that was around the World Cup in 2006 in Germany. And I think it's the first kind of time when people actually stood in a room, they put a game up on a big screen, and it became a spectator sport. And it's the genesis of what we see now in some of the major esports tournaments. So I've been working in and around games and sports for many, many years. But it's interesting to see how now that's evolved into such a business which is generating £1 billion of revenues worldwide at the moment. So yeah, it's taken some time to get to that stage, but great to still be working in the area.
Yeah, as a business in gaming and esports myself, you know, I found that building those strategic partnerships are extremely important. Rupert, can you share with us a little bit about how, you know, the Department of International Trade is really dedicated in creating an environment here in the UK and globally for businesses who are looking to expand, export, and import?
So part of the role of the department is to make the UK the most attractive place to base your business. So actually it's one of the reasons we're talking with Ali and her company is to find a place in one of the big gaming hubs that we've got. So clearly Manchester's a very attractive place to base yourself, but you could be in Guildford or Slough or Leamington Spa, here in London at Heathrow or Slough. And what the UK government has chosen to do is we give a tax credit. So a bit like film, in the last year we had £4.5 billion of investment in film. Similar to for gaming, we've had about nearly £8 billion of investment in gaming because you can get a 20% or more actually return on your tax bill by bringing your gaming company to the UK. Now, it's not just about money, it's about all of you guys. It's about the talent, it's about the skill, it's about the innovation, the research that you get when you bring your companies here to the UK. So, but not only that, we go to things like Games Developers Conference and Gamescom, and as small companies you can apply for a grant with us to actually attend those shows and take your product and your service out to the global market. So not only do we encourage investment, but we have things like the Global Screen Fund with DCMS where you can get business development funding. We have an internationalization fund where you can get anything from legal advice, IP advice, subsidize the cost of travel to attend trade fairs. So we want to make the UK the most attractive place to build your games and then export them and take them around the world.
That's awesome. You know, speaking of funding, right, and, you know, challenges, I think, in esports and really any industry, what branding challenges are you guys seeing, you know, as you're kind of, Maya, you know, for you, as you're kind of breaking into this industry with other, you know, competitors in that audio world, what kind of challenges are you seeing?
I think it's fair to say that esport is still a bit of the Wild West. You have a lot of brands coming in there. They throw whatever money they have. There was just a talk, I think, in the previous panel, is it a bubble? Might very well be. Doesn't mean it's gone when it bursts, but it just means at the moment there's a lot of people who, there was a global announcement on this is how to reach Gen Z, and then everyone rushed in there with whatever budget they had. But now that budget is starting to decrease because we hit a recession. And that will challenge not only the esports organizations, but also the brands to actually look at how do we take the opportunity of the esports world to grow and expand what it can be to do, not just copy from traditional sport, learn, bring all the people. I'm from traditional sport myself. We brought all of them into esports now. But let's also see how we can challenge and innovate within that space. And as a brand, I think one challenge is to fall into that pitfall of just copy-paste what everyone else does or what has been done traditionally. And then you're suddenly in a game about who can throw the most money in there. For us, we really try to find partners that we can grow together with. We don't have the biggest wallet. I'm putting that out there now. But that also means that for us, it's about finding someone who is also on a journey, and we can partner on that journey, and then be very clear on what is it we're trying to achieve. We are trying to achieve to reach more of a broader mainstream audience as well. I think there was someone talking earlier today about how long should esports partnerships be, and there was a bit of a debate. Most brands will say we would like long-term partners and esports organizations as well. But I agree with what was said on stage that it doesn't have to be, because we don't know what's going to happen in this world. But when we go in together, then let's find the win-win situation, position for both parties, and try to avoid that pitfall of copy-pasting what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, I think that there are different ways to integrate your brands within the gaming community. And I know, Guillaume, we had talked a little bit about your plans to expand out of Europe as well. Can you share a little bit about, what things you're looking for as you're expanding? I mean, for us, what we do in the States is not the same in the culture of the UK, and we want to be authentic to the communities that we serve. So what are the things that you guys are doing in your intentionality?
Yeah, so it could be easy for us just to sit on the Formula One fan base that we have, and there's like 1.7 billion people, accumulated that are watching the Formula One Championship. So it could be easy for us just to stay and tap on our Formula One fan base, but that's not how we want to develop our esports team. So we're looking at diversifying in participating more to esport events like we're doing today with the simulator, introducing esports or gamers to driving on simulator can be fun. We've been in Insomnia this year as well. We've been in Gamescom like a few weeks ago, I think. And we're looking at tapping into more like esports event, gaming festival, and be present over there. As an automotive brand, we can come with like a car, a Formula One car, a couple of simulators, come with our partners and speak to the audience and try to understand a bit more what they expect from us. Another thing is to support like the sim racer, streamer and content creator. So we're building actually a content streaming room in our F1 facility to welcome like a couple of like content creators that they can do their videos directly into a Formula One factory. Couple of the things that we're planning to do is to merge the bridge, build the bridge together between sim racing and F1. So a couple of days ago, we had one of our ambassadors, Tom Brower, he being in a Formula One car, and he was actually driving the Formula One car on Twitch. So people were watching live, him doing 3 laps in a Formula One car. It's a bit different of what you can see on TV. So we're trying to innovate in that space, bringing like, not being also too arrogant, and try to understand what the community wants and how we can, help people that usually play Fortnite, League of Legends, CSGO to, actually I could enjoy to, be on a simulator. We obviously know that this is something a little bit more expensive, but with the rise of Netflix and the Drive to Survive documentary, we see a lot of like younger audience getting in Formula One and getting interested into simulators and sim racing. So that's few of the things that we're trying to do to get into the space. Yeah.
I think that's amazing because, I come from the South in the U.S. and car racing is a very big deal, but it's a very different demographic, right? And tying that in together. And Rupert, I know that you're working with a lot of companies that are kind of bridging that gap and building a future into esports and gaming. Talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing out there in the landscape of the innovation that you're seeing and kind of the future path.
Well, I think that one of the things that's quite interesting is how we get a lot of people talking about the metaverse and Web3 and crypto and blockchain, and all these words get kind of thrown around, NFTs. If you think how the gaming community have led the way, first of all with ideas around the wallet, and if you think about the metaverse, actually a lot of these game engines are in fact metaverses in their own right. So whether it's going to something like even like Minecraft, for example, that's its own little kind of walled garden metaverse. So I'm one of these kind of people who think that the metaverse doesn't actually exist. I think that gaming companies have invented the metaverse, and there are multiple metaverses all around the place. So it's how do we support those ecosystems? And I think that the games industry is uniquely placed to take advantage of all these kind of future-leaning, when you look at NFTs in art being sold for $67 million, which Sotheby's sold an artwork by an artist called Beeple the other day. There's no reason why you can't think about how gaming can also approach these two different kind of frontiers across music, across film, across television, across Formula One. And I'd like to go back to the previous points you were discussing around partnerships. The notion of partnerships, you can't just say there's 1.7 billion Formula One fans, so they're all going to want to play esports. Only a very tiny, small percentage of those 1.7 billion fans, there'll be many of them who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, who love Formula One, who's grown up with it, but don't know their way around a gaming console, don't know their way around an iPhone even. So you have to segment the audience, and you have to think about your partnership and think, which music companies can I work with to access a new audience? Which hardware and software platforms can I work with to open up a new audience? And that's where the Department for International Trade is really interesting, because in the areas I look after sport, I look after gaming, I look after music, architecture, art, design. Take a look at every single sports stadium. We're right by Wembley Stadium there. There is a digital twin of Wembley Stadium. That in itself has a value. So gaming companies can, I think, lead the way and show. The reason there are digital twins is because when EA was doing all the FIFA games, they wanted the stadiums to look as authentic as possible for the gameplay experience. Now you can monetize that. Now you can sell a suite in Wembley Stadium with a game engine developing, showing how you could lay the suite out, the types of furnishings you could have in that suite. And it's something which you may have seen, Ali, in Atlanta, when we were out there in Atlanta. And there's a few members of the audience who are on a trade mission with us. So my real mantra is, don't just look at esports and gaming. If you're an esports company, you're a metaverse company, you're a Web3 company. You've got a whole sea of opportunity there, and we can help you access that.
That's awesome. Well, also on the tech side, and I'll definitely get back. With Maya, kind of the innovations that you guys are doing in the audio world. What does the future hold that you see? Some of the things that I looked at when I was kind of researching EPIS was around the technology of hearing and how that impacts us as gamers. And it totally makes a lot of sense to me. And I geek out about that stuff. But, would love to hear more about your, kind of what the future is in that technology and in the brand.
So traditionally in gaming, you've had the visual part as the first thing you invest in, and then comes peripherals like your keyboards or your controller or your mice, and then audio. What we really set out as a mission when we launched our brand was to say we want to move audio up, because audio can make a huge difference, whether it's for the immersion into the game experience or it's the competitive edge. And that's all about the knowledge you have about audio. But the marketplace we are in is very gimmick driven. So audio and gaming, when it comes to peripheral, is a lot about gimmicks. Blasting a bass that will blow out your eardrums, or lights and things flickering. And we went a different direction. But that also meant when we went out and looked for esports partners to work with, we also had to discuss what is it they can bring to that storytelling of a different position in the market that's all about that if you have audio engineered by experts based on deep research into how the human brain processes audio, how do you translate that story with an esports partner? Should we just step away from working with esports partners? But what we found interesting was we could take them on that journey because if you had some people here you could talk to about the importance in audio. But also we had some that we started. We recently brought Heroic, a team, their CSGO team. We brought it to our office. We sat them down together with our engineers. And then they sat and they had half a day of talking. And no, this wasn't a commercial play. It wasn't something we could use towards the end user. But it was such a key activity to our future research and development. We have research coming up later this year where we dive into specifically looking at the brain's performance with audio during competitive gaming. And again, we can pull in our esports partners. And then we suddenly also have a storyline we can make a content track around towards not just the esports audience, but the general gamer who's just interested in knowing from the experts.
Well, I think human performance is extremely important, but that's totally a different conversation. And I know that Guillaume, we had talked about one of your partners that that work on vision training, the vision lenses. Talk to us a little bit about kind of the innovation that you're taking and what your future holds with Alpine.
Yeah, so when you drive on simulator at such a high level of competition, the whole grid is within 0.2 of a second in qualifying. So in the game, you can have 7 million different setups with your car. So we're kind of using like a couple of our F1 engineers to help our esport drivers to fine-tune their driving, and that comes with neuro-tracking technology, mental preparation. That comes with setups and proper strategy. So you would have like a virtual pit wall with a couple of engineers, general 3 to 4 people, that would speak directly to our drivers live during the races to fine-tune the best strategy with strategy software and all this kind of thing. But on top of it, we helped by a couple of partners that are helping us as well on that performance side. So we're working with a company called Shamir. They do B2B lenses for optical lenses for the wider public. So they sell their lenses to optical companies. And so for the last few years, we had a couple of people from their R&D team from Tel Aviv, coming over to France and the UK to help us in setting up simulators properly for vision, but also helping us with bespoke lenses, reducing high fatigue, enhancing contour and performance as well. So that's the sort of things we do. We use neuro-tracking technologies. So it's basically your esport driver looking at the screen, trying to follow 4 balls out of 8, and making sure where they are at the end of 10 or 20 seconds, basically to follow information on screen, coordination with the feet, the hands, the eyes, and well, these are the things that we do around performance, but we also peripheral partners, screens, partner and equipment partners that help us, finding the right performance. And I just wanted to come back to a small thing that Rupert mentioned, Web3 as well. We have Binance as a partner, and we launched a competition earlier this year called the Alpine Esports Series. That's on Assetto Corsa Competizione. Everybody in Europe could try to qualify, and so the winner could win $100,000 worth of fan token crypto currencies, and win also the opportunity to drive a real car on track as well, so bridging the world. But during the whole series, we had POAP NFTs, so if you watch the series, you can scan a QR code, get a piece of a car, and if you follow all the races, you can assemble a full car that will be playable in a Web3 game. So that's eSport allow us to explore also these new innovations, this new blockchain world, Web3, and how, as a brand, then we can interact with it and do some learnings, because it's moving too fast. Sorry, I was speaking a lot, so I will leave other questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you all so much for listening. I got flagged down just a minute ago. If anybody is interested and have some questions for these awesome panelists, first, please give them a round of applause. Thank you. If you all can stay for just a few minutes afterwards while the next panel is getting set up, I would love for you guys to come up and ask questions and engage. So thank you all.
Thank you.